Aunt Mary dragged James to her car and drove all the way back to No. 51 Windmill Lane. Aunt Mary took James up to his bedroom, undressed him, and put him in a baby blue romper suit. "Right, you shall stay in that for the rest of today and all of tonight." James spent the rest of his time crying. The day passed and nighttime came. There was a full moon out in the midnight sky, and it shone quite brightly. By now James was in his bed fast asleep. Suddenly something woke him from his sleep. James got out of his bed in a trance-like state. He went out of his room, down into the kitchen, and out into the garden. To James's surprise, more than shock, there was a young girl wearing a white frilly dress, standing in the middle of the garden. James was not afraid. He timidly, however, went up to the young girl. "Hello." The young girl turned to face him. Her face lit as soon as she saw James standing there. "Oh, how so cute. A whittle baby." "Hey. I am not a baby. But you are dressed as a whittle baby." "So are you," remarked James. James had noticed that the dress the young girl was wearing was baby girl-like in design. The young girl simply smiled at James. "Well, me loves my baby girl clothes." James scratched his head as the young girl looked to be near to his own age, but she talked as though she was an infant. "Why are you dressed like a baby girl?" James asked. "Why are you dressed like a baby boy?" the girl replied. James could not answer her. He noticed a crystal ball-like pendant around the girl's neck. "What is that?" This iseth's my moonstone." "What?" High up in the midnight sky the full moon began to shift. Mysteriously it slowly began to move towards and over the two youngsters. The moonstone pendant around the young girl's neck began to glow. Suddenly she grabbed hold of James's hand. A shimmering glow began to flow from the moonstone pendant. This glow flowed down the young girl's right hand that held it. The glow of light spread from her right to her left. The light flowed down her left arm to her hand where she held James's right hand. He and the young girl were soon enveloped in a glowing, shimmering light. Two shimmering bodies glowed in the garden of No. 51 Windmill Lane, and then they suddenly vanished. James Mayflower and his newly found friend stood in the center garden of No. 51 Windmill Lane. The moon was full and it shone down upon them. A crystal ball-like pendant hung around the young girl's neck. The crystal ball-like pendant began to glow mysteriously. The glow began to spread out from it and surround the two of them in a shimmering glow. Then suddenly, they vanished. The air was cold, the sky was black, the moon hung over them both. However, James soon noticed that he and the young girl in the white frilly dress were no longer stood out in the middle of his Aunt Mary's garden. In fact, both of them were now standing outside Ravenshade Hall. To them both, it looked different somehow, and much older. The girl smiled and began to guide James by his hand toward the manor house. However, James pulled away from her. "Hey, where do you think you are taking me?" "Why, into the manor, of course, silly." "What? No way, how did we get here anyway?"